Awesome.
I'm on there twice now, am I?
Oh, yeah, I will get rid of one of them.
Okay, thanks. All right, we got.
Oh, oh, you there?
Okay.
Interesting. We've got two of you up on the screen now. Um, no
Can you
no
hear?
worries. I can hear you.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna try and there we go. Awesome. All right, so I think we'll give it another minute or so just to let people join in. Got a few Victorians in the mix, which is great. And this is also going to be recorded, so we can send it out to the people that registered but aren't able to make it for some reason. But yeah, I think I'll kick it off anyway. So I'm Will. So I'm the manager here at Platform Sports in Australia. Essentially, my role is helping guide student athletes from this side of the world over to the US, and we've been working with a lot of golfers lately. And I was very fortunate to meet Jenny, who I'll introduce in a second, to start working with her in the mindset space and helping provide a lot of value to our student athletes in terms of reaching their potential and reaching their peak, which I think is super exciting. And you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. But yeah, I think, Jenny, do you just want to give a little bit of a background onto yourself, so people can kind of see who you are and what you do and how you help athletes?
Sure. Hi. Thanks, Will, and hi everyone. Well, I'm a professional golfer and now coaching people on the mental side of the game. And it's not just the young people that I coach; it's all golfers of all ages, from 10-year-old kids to people in their 70s that just want to improve their game. And regardless of your age or your talent or where you're at in your golf, mindset is really key. And I played on tour for many years, but when I first started out, I really struggled. And I realized that I could hit the golf ball like everybody else, and but I couldn't score under pressure. Couldn't perform in the big events. And that's why people come to me. They know that they can do better, but they can't work out why. And they think they practice more and that'll help. But part of my story too is that I did go through the college system. So, as a young country golfer here in Australia, and I wanted to develop my game, and I ended up being the first Australian female to ever go to college in America. And I found the experience just valuable for progress of my game and building my confidence along the way.
Wicked. Yeah, no, like I said, you've got so much experience. And I remember when I first met you at the tournament, everyone wanted to chat to you. You're kind of a magnet for young golfers wanting to just ask questions and to, um, you know, try and steal some of that knowledge that you've developed over so long. But I guess I'll start off with probably one of the biggest questions that, is worth answering is, what would you say the biggest mental barrier is for a lot of golfers, especially the young ones starting out and starting to get more competitive? What would you say is the biggest mental barrier that they face?
I think not understanding how the mind works, and that they've got this little voice in their head. And most people, get frustrated and disappointed on the golf course. And what they do is the thoughts in their head start abusing themselves. Like, we hit a bad
Mm,
shot or have a bad hole and we get frustrated. So we start criticizing ourselves and saying, what did you do that for? And you shouldn't do that. And so this voice in the head is the problem. But I
mm,
teach to how to become more aware of what's going on in your mind, and in that process, you're able to let go of hitting a bad shot or having a bad hole, because it still happens even to the best players in the world, but they can manage their mind and then their emotions better than someone that doesn't understand those processes.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. I know when I'm out on the course, I had a bad shot. It just steamrolls me. But look, I'm not a competitive golfer, so it's one of those things. But I guess pulling it back to your college days, so it's changed so much. So what were the years that you were at college?
Oh gosh, giving away my age. That's okay. 80, 82, 82. I went to America
Yeah,
for
because
nearly.
I it's just so different, and just how these coaches recruit student athletes as well. I remember you were telling me you were sitting there, you had to send letters off to the colleges in the US and actually, write to them. It's not just a FaceTime. Like now we're sitting here, in
Yeah.
different places chatting, and then you had to film. Was it like a big camera to out at the driving range and then send the tape over to the US?
Yes.
Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about kind of that recruitment process because I remember you telling me and I was just amazed.
So my dad used to get golf magazines out from the States, and there was just a story about a young girl that was a college golfer, and it talked about her journey. And at that time, I was probably a 15, 16-year-old kid in a small country town in Tenterfield. And I thought, wow, how exciting would that be? Because I was quite a good student at school as well. And I thought, imagine going to college and being able to still study, but do the thing I love the most, play golf. And so that got me inspired. And I thought, I'm just going to write to the coach in the magazine. So I wrote a letter off to the coach, and she said, just contact as many universities as possible. And I think she sent me a book with all the addresses of the colleges. So I just wrote to 70 universities and just said, told them my story, what did I wanted to do. And then it took a couple of years with the mail coming back and forwards. And then people, some colleges said, I'll fly over and try out, but my parents didn't have that sort of money. So I had to try and find a scholarship. So we just kept sending the information, and they watched me for a couple of years as my golf developed in Australia. And, I was in the junior programs and probably made the state teams at school by that stage. So as I was improving, so my resume was improving. And yeah, and they said, can you send it? They couldn't see my golf swing. So I had to go to the high school and borrow a big tripod and some big camera like you from the Stone Age, and we sent this big tape over of my golf game. And after they received that, they made an offer, and I accepted it. And
That's awesome.
yeah, the
So
rest
and
is
there was
history.
no agencies like us walking around helping kind of bridge that gap, right? It was very just self motivated. You had to really want it. Like I feel
Yes.
like there's a real gap today with a lot of student athletes thinking that you can just say pay an agency and then we do it all for you. But the reality is that's just not the case. That's not what these coaches want. It's yes, we can give you the tools and give you what you need and tell you how to do it. But at the end of the day, you've got to want it. And I think it's a big mental barrier that a lot of these student athletes face is, you know, I can just walk into any program. There's so many kids wanting to go to the US and play college golf, and there's only a limited amount of spots. So it's
Mm.
kind of who wants it more. And um, tell us a little bit about those that mental side of being in the US, being a golfer in a foreign country, without mum and dad there. How did you deal with that side of the pressure?
So I guess that was the first taste of what it's like to what was going to be ahead of me in my career. Um, there were times when I was lonely and, a long way from home, and I'm a young country girl and I'm living on the other side of the world, and there was no technology, no FaceTime, no Zoom calls. There was rarely a phone call. Um, um, communication. So the times were tough, but I think I was very motivated and driven, and like you said, Will, I really wanted it. So I was prepared to do the work and sacrifice things like that to get the job done. So having a good attitude of like making the most of the opportunity and being grateful for the opportunity, and the experience it was giving me, and yeah, it was just amazing to realize that I'd been given that opportunity to be over on the other side of the world following my dream. And then years later, I guess when you do things like that, it makes you stronger, gives you more
Mm,
confidence, helps your
mm,
self-esteem, which you need to have if you're going to become a golfer as a career. Because there were many times later on when I had to go to the European tour and then the Japanese tour and be on my own again. Right after I was married, I had to be in Japan for many, many years, months, not years, months on my own. And then in a country where I couldn't speak the language.
mm.
Um, but I used that time to better myself. So, it's about doing things better or more than what everyone else is doing. So I had more
Yeah.
time to practice, time to study books. I had more time to research what the mental side of the game was. So once I
Mm.
learned those, then I had to practice them. So
How
it's about discipline, a lot of it.
That's what I was gonna say. How important is like a routine for you? How important was that routine actually being organized and getting things, is that something that is maybe lacking today with a few golfers? Have you seen that kind of regimented, like systematic routines?
Absolutely. And it starts just with the physical routine of golfers that play golf. If you just look at the average person that plays golf, most people don't do the same routine on every shot. They don't do the same practice swing and do the same routine over each shot. Sometimes they might have a practice swing, sometimes they don't. So even that sort of routine will improve the average game of golf. But then as you improve, like golfers get to a handicap, um, maybe of about 5, and then they can't break getting lower. And it's about being disciplined and about having routines and about their daily routines. So success comes from doing small tasks on a daily basis over and over again. And that's how we get the big results. So, there's a young guy that just signed with you that I've been coaching for about a year and a half. And he was very hyper, dare I say, very excitable. And we've had to slow down his golf swing. And recently, he's had some great results, some really good numbers, 6 under just recently in a tournament.
Playing really, really well.
But we've also been talking about how that discipline of routines helping his schoolwork, and like writing up a list of the things that I have to tick off on a daily basis to get done. And
Yeah,
then you're more organized, and
yeah,
that's how it
100%.
works.
It's those habits, so small habits, right? And they can be applied to everything. Even things like, just a lot of athletes need to realize, like getting out of bed in the morning and making your bed, you know, and going for a walk, or doing these same things. And no, I think you've really kind of nailed it, in terms of how college helps with that, because the reality is you are essentially on your own over there, and you have to be able to figure it out.
Mm.
And I guess, how can these junior players that are, maybe don't have that experience of pressure, how can they develop their mind to be more consistent when they're under that pressure? Because when, say, you mess up a tournament back home before going to college in the States, you can just go, everything's comfortable. You go home to your bed, mum cooks you dinner, strokes your hair, tells you it's all right. But whereas at college, you don't have that. There's this pressure of performance that these kids get put under. How can they develop their mind to be more consistent?
Excuse me, I just got to have a drink for a minute.
No worries.
So I guess it's learning to manage your own thoughts, right? So, for example, if everyone's doing things for you, it's kind of like I'm just trying to think. That question had a lot in it.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right. So, so it's really about your internal self-talk, which is the mental
Mm,
game. So I can apply that to anything. So, for example, sometimes you might want your parents to say, well done, but the most important thing to do is telling yourself to say, well done to yourself,
hmm.
right? Uh, um, or how I build confidence or self esteem is by doing things myself. And then afterwards, I feel satisfied that I've achieved something because I've done it myself. So becoming self sufficient. And if you can start doing that now at a young age, then that will build their confidence that if these young kids online today, they'll be ready when they go to golf because
Mm.
they're being more self sufficient and thinking for themselves and getting
Yeah.
organized for themselves.
Yeah. So shifting that kind of self-talk from negative into a productive self-talk that,
Absolutely.
is gonna help your performance. Nah, perfect. And well, I guess another big question then is, and I know this is something that you wanted to touch on, how does our mind work? As I'm an athlete myself, and I'd love to just understand a little bit more about how my mind works. And I'm heading off to Melbourne next week to play in the Australian State Lacrosse Nationals, playing for Queensland. And I'm going into this tournament. I haven't really played super competitive lacrosse in a long time, so since 2023. So this is how's my mind working right now, and how can I well, how does every student athlete's mind work?
So I think that the mind works on an automatic program that that has been put into us from day dot as a survival mechanism. So if you think of the Neanderthal man when he came out of the cave, he's got to look where danger is, right? So the mind's used to, and it looks like it's being negative. It's looking, um, is there a saber-toothed tiger over there? Is there a lion there? There's another guy with a spear. I've got to know where the danger is. But in that moment, I've got to assess the situation. And so what happens is we're full of fear, right? So when we go to a golf tournament, we're actually full of fear, performance anxiety, right? Because we're trying to work out a solution, how we're going to play well. So when the caveman comes out of the cave and he sees the danger, he's got to do a number of things. So he'll initially freeze, and then he'll probably think, I could flee and run back in the cave, or I've got to stand here and fight. So to perform well, you've got to be able to stand there and fight. So you've got to look at where your target is, not where the danger is. So if he was going to spear the other guy with the spear, line it up, spear the other guy. So on the golf course, it's the same. When you stand on a tee ground, you're looking, there's the out of bounds, there's the water, there's the trees. I don't want to go there. But again, I've got to look at the target down the middle of the fairway and aim for that and have a process that makes that happen.
Yeah.
So that's how my mind's working. All the time, it's looking for danger. And
Yeah.
it's very good at telling stories. And I believe the storytelling we have in our head is that the mind's trying to find a solution. So, for example, when we go to a tournament, most people are thinking things like, oh, I hope I play well today. I hope I don't play bad. I wonder if I'll play better than I did last week. What sort of score will I have? Who else is in the field? So it's trying to gather information and find a solution. So the mind's running to those things, and we have to know what the solution is. And the solution always comes back to the physical. So whatever sport you play, I've got to have a very clear understanding of what makes my golf game work. And a lot of times golfers are constantly trying to fix what went wrong instead of understanding what makes them hit good shots. Right. And then I will hit good and bad shots, but being able to reset after either the good or bad shot, I've got to let go of a bad shot and reset to just going through that routine again that makes me hit a good shot, not trying to fix the last bad one that I did.
Yeah. Oh, it makes, yeah, 100%.
And then
Um,
we're going to have a lot of emotions come under the
mm,
umbrella of the mind as well. But I think our emotions come from our storytelling. If I start saying to myself, you better play well today, I hope you don't mess up, you've been practicing really hard, I'm starting to put this internal pressure on myself. And before I get to the tournament, I'm quite nervous
mm,
because I put internal pressure from my thinking. So I
yeah.
help people going on in their mind, and then that'll help their emotions as well.
Yeah, because it can sabotage some athletes, right?
Yeah,
That mindset.
yes, definitely.
For sure, for sure. And I guess before, because we will talk about how our athletes can come in and do some sessions with you, but just a couple more things from me. We work with not only the student athletes, but we also work with a lot of parents that are trying to support their kids going through this process, right? Like, what kind of advice would you give to parents that want to support their young golfer and their mental development? Like, yeah, how can you, what tips would you give them so that they know they're doing the best that they can to support their kids?
Mm. I think the most important thing for parents is to, a lot of times parents are kind of strict and want to tell them every time that they do something wrong, what did you do that for? Or you're not practicing hard enough, or they're putting, the parents can often put pressure on kids as well. So I always get parents to ask leading questions to their students. How can you do this better? What do you think might help? Is there any way I can assist you in you being more structured or being more disciplined to achieve the goals that you're trying to do? Instead of saying you should do this, you should do that, because then the student often feels like the parents putting pressure on them. Parents are really just trying to help,
Mm.
um, but they can create pressure. So
Yeah,
and then, sorry, go ahead.
without a doubt. I mean, but then as a kid, right? They've got to realize that mum and dad do have your best interests at heart. They are trying to do what's right. But yeah, it's an interesting one because so many times we have our student athletes, just really worried about what their parents are going to say after they have a bad game. So it's kind of how they can navigate this process of going to college in the US, because you do have to be playing at a high level, which I guess leads into my next question, which is, what are the, because you've played at the top level, right? And you've also you've been through that whole journey and you've played against and with a lot of different golfers. What would you say are the key mindset differences between you know the elite ones and the good golfers? Like, just your good golfers, but then your elite pros. What's the key mindset differences?
I think maybe the best players understand themselves the best. So there's so many different personalities that play golf, right?
Mm,
So a good thing that I like to, when I'm working with someone, is to find out what your personality is like and how you like to play the game. So some people play the game where they're really talkative and they're fun and they're not quite serious, but they get serious. They can snap into being serious over the ball. Other golfers look like they're serious all the time and they walk off on their own. So to work out what you need to get your mind right so that you're prepared every time you got to hit the shot. So I think the best players in the world know what they need to do for themselves, mentally and emotionally. So there's yeah, I'm quite serious on the golf course, but not unfriendly. So
Mm,
I don't make a lot of small talk because I need to get into my own head a lot. So I'll say good shot, I'll have a bit of a chat, but I'll walk off down the fairway working on my mental game in between shots. Um, but there's other people that talk a lot, and that's a distraction because they know that their mind gets busy worrying about the next shot. So they use other people. But I know that if I'm around those people, they kind of suck my energy. So I've got to stay away from them.
mm.
So,
So it's
uh,
understanding who you are.
yes, definitely. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Oh, interesting. And how can our student athletes and the student athletes that are going to watch this, how can they work with you? Obviously, if they're keen, just flick me a message and I can get you connected directly with Jenny. But for those that haven't got a direct line to me, how can they get in touch with you, and how can they get some sessions and maximize their mindset?
Well, I do one-on-one sessions. So anyone that wants to do a one-on-one introductory session and just see if they want to tell me a little bit about their game, what they're struggling with, what they want to try and achieve. I always just say to people, it's just a great thing to have a trial session and see if there's a good fit between myself and them.
Mhm.
And then after that, we decide if you want to work further and sign up for packages. Um, and there is an opportunity. I'm trying to start some master classes at the moment where we can do group sessions because sometimes it comes down to affordability.
Yeah.
So not everyone has a lot of money. So to do a master class, you'll get probably my 5 weeks private sessions done in a group session, just in a half-day workshop. So I have a masterclass coming up soon on the 22nd of June.
Hmm.
So anyone that wants to sign up for that, they can reach out and find out the details of that.
And I'll send out the links to those, and we can definitely get that sorted out. But you've also got a book, right?
Yes, I do. I've got this book here. I've written it. It's kind of just a real intro. It's a 2-hour read. It's got some great little takeaways in it. Anyone that's sitting on today that hasn't read it, I know there's a few girls from Victoria that aren't looking at the college system. They've probably read the book. Um, and I know that people that read my little book get some aha moments right away and just go, wow, I never even thought that that's a mental strategy. And I've had people that, the average golfer that goes out and plays the next Saturday comp and texts me and says, oh my God, I just had 44 points on Saturday's comp, or I had my best round ever just from reading the book. So it's only $15. It's worth having a read if you haven't got it.
Mm.
And I think the link for that as well. But yeah, if anyone is keen to do my webinar on the 22nd of June, it will cover some tools on understanding your thinking, how you can start programming your own mind, and how to manage your emotions. Because on the golf course, we have all sorts of emotions, from nerves to anxiety, to frustration. We get excited, we get sad, we get disappointed. And we need to know how to process that to play better golf as well. And then we'll have a little quick look in the masterclass on what do you actually focus on in your routine, because some people think that they have a routine, which is a practice swing and then hitting the ball, but the routine actually has to be really focusing on something different in the practice swing, which is technical, and then how to settle your emotions when you're over the ball. And so in the masterclass, I talk about some of the physical aspects of the golf game that are also need mindfulness or mental awareness.
There we go. Everyone, I'd
Yeah.
highly recommend it. I'll get all of this information sent out to everyone, and I'll also maybe put your email in there as well if they want to reach out directly or ask any questions and things like that. But with, I guess, the last question that I got two questions to finish with this, but the first question is, if a golfer's watching this right now and they wanted to improve their mindset starting tomorrow, what's one thing that they can change or do first to improve their mindset?
Okay, the first thing you have to ever learn to do is to start monitoring your thinking, right? So you've got to start watching that little voice in your head. Instead of it just running its own program, start asking yourself, what am I thinking right now? And you start to become aware of your thoughts. And if you have a negative thought, go, oh my God, that was a really negative thought. And then a 3-step process. Be aware of the negative thought, learn to delete the negative thought, and then insert 3 positive thoughts over the top. So, for example, if you go to the golf course and you think, oh, I'm going to play really badly today, negative thought, delete it and say, if I take my time on shots, if I focus on my routine, and if I watch the ball, good chances I might play well today. So I've changed the thought process from, I hope I don't play badly today. So same as if you think, I don't want to hit it in the water.
Yeah.
We will always think, don't hit it in the water. Okay, if I'm going to delete that thought, insert, focus on the target, focus on making a good swing, and I want to hit it on the green or the fairway, not in the water. So that simple process, if you start practicing that, you will start to become aware of, you're now in charge of your mind instead of it running its own program.
Definitely, that could apply to any sport. And I think that's a really great tool, and that's something that people can take away. But I'll finish it on, what is your favorite golf memory? Whether it was college or when you were a professional, what's one memory that stands out to you just in your golf career?
Oh, wow. One memory. Okay.
There must be a lot.
I mean, probably
Any tournaments?
the first tournament I ever won as a pro is
Yeah.
probably a big one for me. And it's really funny because one of the things that I teach is meditation, and I
Mm.
used to imagine. So meditation is just like daydreaming or imagining winning a tournament. So I used to do this thought in my head all the time. One day I'm going to have a 1-shot lead. I'll be playing the last. I'll walk down the 18th. All my friends will be standing around the green. My husband will be caddying for me. And then I'll hole out and I'll win and everyone will run onto the green. And that came true. And I feel like at the time it felt like I'd been there before because I'd been practicing it in my head. So it's quite amazing. But yeah, I have so many memories from, the years of playing college golf, amateur golf, the people I've met, the places I've traveled, playing pregnant. I had my best finish ever at the Australian Ladies Masters, 6 months pregnant with my son, and then 13 years caddied for me in that tournament. So I have a lot of great memories from golf. So
That's awesome. That's so cool. Well, look, I know you're super, super busy, so we've got some really good stuff from that, and I'm sure a lot of athletes are going to find a lot of value in first of all listening to this, but then actually getting to chat with you one on one. And because one thing we always say is that every single student athlete is different. No two are the same. Everyone plays differently, has a different mindset, has a different physical build, and has a different support system. So yeah, we're super excited to keep building on this partnership with you as well, and hopefully be able to help impact a lot more student athletes. But thank you so much for your time,
Well,
and we'll keep in touch.
sounds great. And yeah, I hope everyone got something out of today. And, anyone that's struggling with beating themselves up and getting angry and frustrated, there are answers and you can change it, and you'll improve your results, and you'll have more enjoyment of the game too. So thanks for hosting today, Will. It was great to be part of this.
No worries. All right.
See ya.